The air was so thick with heat you could chew it. Cicadas screamed in the locust trees lining the cracked parking lot, and the sun hammered the asphalt until it shimmered like water. The 3:47 p.m. 13 minutes until the last Chicago-bound Greyhound of the summer left the depot forever. I stood on the burning concrete with 12 other kids from Mercy Creek, all of us clutching the same dream, a union job at the Lakeview Garment Complex on the north side. One referral letter each, stamped by the Veterans Administration, paid for with blood most of us never spilled ourselves. My father's blood. Mostly. Nathan Cole stood in the middle of the group, as if he owned the oxygen. Sunlight glinted off the gold Mayor Sun class ring he wore, even though he'd dropped out of community college. He held all 13 envelopes in one fist, the way a card shark holds aces. "Where's Vanessa?" he asked again, voice tight, eyes fixed on the dusty trail that led down to the Sangamon River. "We're not leaving without her." A couple of the guys shifted their weight. Nobody wanted to miss this bus, but nobody wanted to cross Nathan Cole when his father was mayor, and his uncle was sheriff. I tasted copper, not from the heat, from memory. The memory of a hemp rope biting into my throat on what was supposed to be my wedding night because I dared to drag him onto that bus in the last life. This time I didn't open my mouth. I let go of the hand I'd been holding for 4 years and took one step back. The conductor leaned out, bored or don't, "Kids, I'm pulling out in 10. Nathan's head snapped toward me. "Elena, get over here." I stayed where I was. My shadow stretched long and thin behind me, like it was already walking away. "Elena, sharper now." The envelopes rustled in his grip. Everyone's future is literally in their hands. Vanessa appeared at the far end of the lot, strolling like she was on a runway instead of gravel. White sundress, red lipstick, hair curled even in 98-degree heat. She lifted a hand in a lazy wave. "Sorry, y'all," she sang. River water felt too good to rush. A few people exhaled in relief. Nathan's shoulders dropped like a man who'd just been handed a pardon. I felt the rope again, ghost tight around my neck, and something inside me clicked shut forever. The conductor hit the horn, 2 short blasts, final warning. Nathan turned to climb the steps, Vanessa on his heels, still holding everyone's envelopes. That's when I spoke, quiet enough that only the people closest heard. "I wouldn't get on that bus if I were you, Nate." He froze with one foot on the stairs. "What did you say?" I smiled. It felt strange, like a muscle I'd forgotten I had. I said, louder this time, "I already mailed my own referral. Certified, straight to the VA office in Springfield. Signature required." They received it 4 days ago. The platform went dead silent except for the idling engine. Nathan's knuckles went white around the packet. "You're lying." "Am I?" Vanessa laughed, high and brittle. "She's bluffing. Come on, baby." But Nathan wasn't moving. His eyes searched my face for the old Elena, the one who begged, who forgave, who dragged his drunk ass home from the bars and pretended not to notice lipstick on his collar. That girl was dead. He'd killed her. The conductor closed the doors. The bus lurched forward. Nathan lunged, too late. The Greyhound rolled past us, kicking up gravel and diesel fumes, carrying my old life away with it. He spun back, face purple. "What the hell did you do?" I shrugged. I chose myself. The bus disappeared around the bend, red taillights blinking once like a wink before it was gone. 12 kids from Mercy Creek stood in the sudden vacuum of engine noise, staring at Nathan as he'd just murdered their mothers. Vanessa's smile slipped. "Well, that's inconvenient." Nathan ignored her. He was staring at me the way a man stares at a ghost he's 100% sure he buried. "You think you're smart," he said, voice low. "You think you can humiliate me in front of everybody and walk away." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his father's Zippo, the engraved one, Mayor Cole's initials gleaming. Flick, flame. He held it an inch from the corner of the envelopes. The paper started to curl. "Nate, don't," said Tommy Alvarez, whose dad lost both legs to an IED outside Da Nang. "One more word," Nathan said, calm as Sunday morning, "and nobody goes to Chicago. Not today, not ever." The flame licked higher. The smell of burning paper filled the air. Vanessa stepped closer to him, pressing her body against his arm. "Baby, cool it. We can figure something else." "Shut up." He didn't even look at her. I watched the edges blacken and felt nothing. No panic, no tears, just a cold, crystalline clarity. "Nathan," I said softly. His eyes snapped to mine. "You're holding 12 futures in your hand. Mine's already safe." I pulled a folded carbon copy from my back pocket, the receipt from the post office, stamped and dated. "So go ahead, burn them. I'll be on the next transport north. Army convoy comes through on Wednesday. They're required to take dependents of fallen soldiers. Guess whose name is on that list?" The flame wavered. Tommy took a half step forward. "Please give me my letter." "Nate?" Nathan's hand shook. "Back off." Another step, then another. 5 guys moving in slow, like wolves who just realized the shepherd was all bark. Nathan pressed the flame directly to the corner. Whoosh! The envelopes ignited like dry leaves. Screams. Someone attempted to extinguish the fire. Too late. Within seconds. The packet was a torch. Nathan dropped it, watching it curl and blacken on the asphalt. Vanessa took one look at the ashes and started to cry. Pretty. Practiced tears. Now what are we supposed to do? Nathan didn't answer. He was staring at the smoking remains of everyone's dreams. And then at me, like he was seeing me for the first time. I crouched, picked up the one envelope that had fluttered free before catching fire. Mine. Still intact. I tucked it into my bra, right against my heartbeat. "Wednesday," I said, standing. "Convoy leaves the armory at 0600. I'll save you a seat if you ask real nice." I turned and walked toward the highway. Behind me, I heard shouting, someone throwing the first punch, the wet sound of fist on flesh. Didn't look back. The sun was setting blood red over the cornfields, and for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I was walking toward it instead of away. The convoy rolled in just after dawn, 3 deuce-and-a-half trucks, 2 jeeps, and a dusty olive-drab sedan with Illinois National Guard plates. The air smelled of diesel and wet corn. 12 of us waited on the curb, what was left of the Greyhound group, plus a few new faces who'd heard the army was giving rides north. I stood apart, duffel at my feet, wearing my father's old field jacket even though the morning was already sticky. The sleeves were too long. I kept pushing them up, just as he used to. Nathan and Vanessa arrived late. Of course. Nathan had a fresh split lip and a black eye that was turning a deep purple. Someone had worked him over good after the envelope fire. Vanessa's mascara was already smudged from crying and sweating, or possibly from both. She carried a pink vinyl suitcase held together with duct tape. They spotted me and froze. I lifted one hand in a lazy salute. Nathan's jaw clenched so hard I heard it pop. He started toward me, but a sergeant with a clipboard stepped between us. "Names," the sergeant barked. One by one, we recited. When it got to Vanessa, she stepped forward, chin high. Vanessa Reed, daughter of Sergeant First Class Daniel Harper, KIA 1968. She even managed a quiver in her voice. The sergeant's pen stopped moving. He looked up slowly. "Say again." Nathan moved in fast, all smiles. "Sergeant, my father is Mayor Cole. He spoke to your colonel yesterday. We've got paperwork." He tried to hand over a manila folder. The sergeant didn't take it. "Miss Reed," the sergeant said, eyes flicking to me, then back to her. "We radioed ahead to Fort Sheridan last night. There's only one living dependent listed for Sergeant Harper." He turned the clipboard so we could all see. "Elena Marie Harper, relation daughter." Vanessa turned as pale as old paper. Nathan tried again, louder. "There must be some mistake. Vanessa's been receiving survivor benefits since..." "Negative." The sergeant cut in. "The VA fraud division flagged the account 6 months ago. Payments stopped. Someone's been cashing those checks illegally for 15 years. The silence was so complete, I heard a grasshopper land on the hood of the nearest truck. 2 MPs appeared from nowhere, hands on holstered sidearms. Vanessa took one stumbling step back. "This is a misunderstanding." "Ma'am, step away from the vehicles." Nathan lunged, desperate. "Sergeant, listen, we can fix this." The nearest MP caught his arm and twisted it behind his back with practiced ease. Nathan yelped. I finally spoke. "Sergeant, permission to board." The man looked at me for a long second, something like respect in his eyes. "Granted, Miss Harper, front truck." I picked up my duffel and walked past Nathan without touching him. close enough to smell the whiskey and fear sweat on his skin. As I climbed the tailgate, I heard Vanessa start to scream, a high, animal sound. Elena. Tell them I'm your sister. I paused on the canvas step, looked down at her. I don't have a sister, I said. The truck lurched forward. In the side mirror, I watched Nathan fight the MPs while Vanessa collapsed to her knees in the dust, her pink suitcase bursting open, its contents scattering across the gravel like dead petals. The convoy pulled out. Mercy Creek shrank behind us, cornfields swallowing it whole. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I was headed to Chicago alone. The city hit like a fist sirens, elevated trains screaming overhead, the smell of hot dogs and exhaust in Lake Michigan. I stepped off the army truck with nothing but my duffel, my father's jacket, and a righteous fury that kept me warm at night. Lakeview Garment hired me the same-day union card, dorm bunk, $9.40 an hour, more money than Mercy Creek saw in a month. I kept my head down, learned the industrial surgers in 3 days ahead of schedule, sent half my first paycheck to the VA to start repaying the benefits that had been stolen from me since I was 7. Then, on a humid Friday in August, everything exploded. I was on the cutting floor when the loudspeakers crackled Elena Harper to the front gate. Elena Harper. I walked out into blinding sunshine and a circus. Local news vans, reporters, and even a WGN camera crew. Someone had tipped them off that the daughter of a decorated Vietnam hero was starting work today. Except the daughter posing in front of the gates wasn't me. Vanessa stood on a milk crate in a new dress, hair teased high, tears sparkling perfectly for the cameras. Nathan hovered behind her like a bodyguard, wearing a cheap suit 2 sizes too big, probably borrowed from his father. Yes, Vanessa was saying, voice trembling with rehearsed grief. My father gave his life so we could be free, and today I'm here to honor him by. I almost laughed out loud. A reporter thrust a microphone at Nathan. And you? Sir? Family of the hero. Nathan puffed up. Fiancé of the late Sergeant Harper's daughter. My father. Mayor Raymond Cole, personally arranged. The factory doors banged open. Mr. Kowalski, the plant manager, stormed out red-faced, waving a telex. Behind him walked 2 men in dark suits, federal badges glinting. Vanessa Reed and Nathan Cole Kowalski roared, "Step forward." The cameras swung like compass needles. Vanessa's smile froze mid-sob. Kowalski held up the telex. The Department of Defense has just released this. You are both officially terminated for presenting fraudulent documents. Security. 2 burly guards appeared. Nathan tried to bolt. 1 guard caught him by the collar and marched him forward like a misbehaving child. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. There's been a mistake. No mistake, Kowalski said. You forged VA Form 21-526, impersonated a Purple Heart recipient's dependent, and misappropriated survivor benefits totaling $38,400. That's felony wire fraud, miss. The WGN cameraman zoomed in so close I saw Vanessa's mascara run black down her cheeks. Nathan twisted in the guard's grip, eyes finding me across the crowd. Elena, tell them we're engaged. I stepped forward slowly. Every microphone turned toward me. I was engaged to him. I said, in a calm and clear voice, he strangled me on our wedding night in my last life because I made him leave Vanessa behind. Dead silence. A reporter recovered first. I'm sorry. Last life. I smiled, small and sharp figure of speech. The cameras loved it anyway. Nathan started screaming my name as they dragged him toward a waiting unmarked sedan. Vanessa collapsed, sobbing theatrically until one of the federal agents cuffed her hands behind her back, and the act finally cracked. Real tears this time. I watched them stuff her into the back seat, pink dress riding up, hair extensions coming loose. The door slammed. The WGN reporter shoved a mic in my face. Miss Harper, how does it feel to see justice served? I looked straight into the lens. It feels like breathing, I said. Behind me, the factory whistle blew, calling us back to work. I turned, and I was the only one who had earned. As I walked through the gates, the Chicago wind caught my father's jacket and flapped it like a flag. I didn't look back. They didn't stay down long. Nathan made bail the same week. Vanessa's mother mortgaged the trailer to get her out of it. Mayor Cole still had friends, a judge who owed him, a prosecutor who wanted to run for state senate, a deputy who looked the other way. For one cold month, I thought I'd won too early. It started small. My tires were slashed outside the factory dorm. A brick through the window of the room I rented on Halstead, with snitch scratched into the glass. Anonymous calls at 3 a.m., heavy breathing. Then Nathan's voice, drunk and soft. "You think Chicago's big enough to hide in? Elena, I know where you sleep." I stopped sleeping. I kept a kitchen knife under my pillow and jumped at every siren. The rage that had carried me out of Mercy Creek began to feel thin, brittle. One night, I stood on the Belmont overpass, staring down at the expressway lights, and wondered if revenge was just another kind of grave. Then the feds moved faster than Mayor Cole expected. The U.S. Attorney in Springfield unsealed a 37-count indictment the first week of December. Wire fraud, mail fraud, theft of government funds, forgery of federal documents, conspiracy, and because the mayor had used his official letterhead to vouch for Vanessa's misuse of office, they raided the town hall at 6 a.m., live on the morning news. Raymond Cole was let out in handcuffs while the secretary cried into her coffee. Nathan was rearrested the same day, trying to pawn his mother's jewelry for a bus ticket to Florida. Vanessa flipped first. In a fluorescent room at the Federal Building, she sang like it was a Sunday choir, gave them bank records, love letters, Polaroids of her and Nathan counting my stolen VA checks on the mayor's kitchen table. In exchange, she got 5 years probation and a new identity somewhere in Arizona. Nathan received an 8-year sentence in Terre Haute. The day the verdict came down, I was back in Mercy Creek for the sentencing. The courtroom smelled like bleach and old fear. Nathan wore an orange jumpsuit 2 sizes too big. The sleeves swallowed his hands. When the judge read the sentence, he looked straight at me in the gallery. His mouth moved, no sound, but I read the words anyway. "This is your fault." I smiled, small and tired, and mouthed back, "I know." Outside, snow started to fall, the soft kind that sticks to your eyelashes. I stood on the courthouse steps while reporters shouted questions I didn't answer. All I felt was hollow, like someone had scooped out the burning coal I'd carried for months and left only cold ash. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. 6.5 years later, I was 29, assistant plant manager at Lakeview, taking night classes at UIC on the GI Bill my father never lived to use. I owned a 2-flat in Logan Square, drove a used Civic that started every morning, and hadn't been back to Mercy Creek once. Then Nathan was paroled for good behavior as part of a prison overcrowding deal. He showed up at my door on a Thursday night in April. Rain, soaked to the bone, holding a cheap bouquet of carnations already browning at the edges. "Elena?" He looked smaller. Prison had shaved 10 pounds off him and added gray at the temples. His eyes were bloodshot but clear, like a man who'd been sober long enough to remember every terrible thing he'd done. "I need 5 minutes." I should have slammed the door. Instead, I stepped aside. He stood dripping in my hallway, staring at the framed photo of my father in dress blues. "I wrote you letters," he said, "every week for 4 years. They all came back returned to sender. I know if you moved or..." I moved on. He flinched. Fair. A pause. "I'm clean. I've got Jesus in the county. And I've got a job lined up at my cousin's body shop in Peoria. I came to say I'm sorry, face to face, like a man." The carnations trembled in his hand. "I dream about the rope," he whispered. "Every night. Your eyes when his voice cracked. I wake up choking myself." I felt nothing. Not triumph, not pity, just the strange calm of a woman who'd already buried that night twice. "Nate, go home. I know you don't owe me anything, but if you could, forgive me. I'd spend the rest of my life making it right." He went down on one knee, water pooling on my hardwood, and held out a tiny velvet box. Inside was the same engagement ring he'd given me the first time, tarnished now, diamond chip missing. "Marry me again. For real this time. I'll sign whatever you want. Headlights swept across the windows. A car door slammed. Vanessa climbed my front steps, swaying, 6 months pregnant. hair dyed platinum, belly stretching a tight AC/DC t-shirt. She saw Nathan on his knee and let out a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. Well, ain't this sweet the murderer and the saint, round two? Nathan stood slowly. You're not supposed to be within 500 feet of me. Parole officer's busy, she sneered. Besides, you owe me. This kid's yours, Nate. The doctor says it's a boy. Are you going to step up or keep playing house with Little Miss Martyr? The carnations hit the floor. Nathan looked from her belly to me, face crumpling. Elena, it's not. Don't. I opened the door wider, both of you. Out. Vanessa shoved past him, grabbing his arm. Come on, baby daddy. Let's celebrate our family reunion. Something snapped in Nathan's eyes. He backhanded her, hard. She staggered, blood on her lip, and laughed again, louder, hysterical. I stepped between them. I set out. Vanessa spat blood at my shoes. You think you're better than us? Wait till this town hears how you sent an innocent man to prison. Nathan hit her again. She fell against the radiator, clutching her stomach, smile frozen. The scream that came out of her wasn't acting this time. I called 911 while Nathan stood frozen, staring at his bloody knuckles as if they belonged to someone else. Sirens? Red and blue lights paint my walls. Paramedics wheeling Vanessa out on a stretcher. Her face gray. Nathan was in cuffs again, crying silently as they put him in the squad car. Violation of parole, assault, probation revoked. Back to prison before the carnations even wilted. I stood on the porch in the rain long after they were gone, letting the water wash the blood off my doorstep. That was the night I finally believed they couldn't touch me anymore. I flew in private this time, landed the company helicopter on the high school football field because the new helipad wasn't finished yet. The town turned out, kids waved tiny American flags. The mayor, 33, honest, and terrified of me, gave a speech about a local girl who makes good. I cut the ribbon on the Harper Veterans Center, featuring dorms for homeless veterans, job training, and a wall with my father's name in bronze. Afterward, the new mayor pulled me aside, twisting his hands. Ma'am, someone is asking to see you. Says it can't wait. I knew before he said the name. They'd wheeled Nathan out of the county nursing home for the day. 80 pounds soaking wet, oxygen tank hissing beside the chair, legs useless from diabetic ulcers. Liver is the color of old coffee. Maybe weeks are left. He sat under the same locust trees where we'd waited for the Greyhound 35 years ago, staring at the river like it might give him answers. I walked over alone. His eyes, still pale blue, lifted to mine, took a second to focus. Elena? A whisper through cracked lips. You came? Looks that way. He tried to smile. Half his teeth were gone. And he heard you built all this? A shaky hand waved at the new buildings. Your daddy'd be proud. I waited. Vanessa died. He said, liver cancer. 2 years ago. Screamed your name at the end. Not mine. Yours. He coughed, wet and rattling. Guess we both lost. I crouched so we were eye level. Nate, you didn't lose. You burned your own house down and blamed the smoke on me. His chin trembled. I know. Tears cut clean paths through the dirt on his cheeks. I just wanted you to know I stopped hating you a long time ago. Started hating the man I was instead. Too late, but I'm sorry. Elena, for the rope, for everything. The oxygen hissed. Somewhere, kids laughed on the new playground. I reached out and adjusted the nasal cannula that had slipped out of place. His skin was paper thin. Thank you, I said. He blinked, startled. Not for the apology, I added. Totally. Understand the difference between sorry and too late. I stood. He grabbed my wrist with skeletal fingers. Wait, please, one more thing. I waited. Tell me it was worth it. All of it. Please lie to me if you have to. Tell me you're happy. I looked around at the center that would house 200 veterans a year, at the bronze wall catching the sunset, at the helicopter waiting to take me back to a life I built thread by thread. I'm happy, I said, and for the first time it wasn't a weapon. It was simply true. His hand fell away. I walked back toward the way I'd come, didn't look behind me again. That night, I stood on the balcony of the little boutique hotel the town had put me up in. watching fireworks over the river for the new center. Red, white, and blue blooms reflected in the same water Vanessa once primped beside. My phone buzzed. A text from my husband. Yes, I married a quiet engineer from Ghana who thinks revenge stories are boring and prefers gardening, and a photo of our daughter asleep on his chest back in Chicago. I smiled, thumb brushing the screen. Behind me, in the distance, an ambulance siren rose and fell. I didn't need to ask who it was for. Some people destroy themselves beautifully. I just stepped aside and kept walking. The fireworks ended. The sky grew dark and filled with stars. I went inside, closed the door softly, and slept without dreaming for the first time in 35 years.